India is staring at below normal rainfall for the second straight year, predicts the Met Department, but assures the situation is not alarming. Also forecasts a weak El Nino to prevail during the monsoon season.
Gajendra Singh, a farmer from Rajasthan, hangs himself from a tree at an Aam Aadmi Party rally in Jantar Mantar in the capital. His suicide note says he has 3 children and his father disowned him due to crop failure. Politicians engage themselves in an ugly blame game.
सरकार फिर उसमें पॉलिसी के तहत या एग्जीक्यूटिव एक्शन के तहत कुछ उसमें कार्रवाई नहीं कर सकती है, वो जुडिशियल मामला बन गया है.
Pay the tax or go to court. A clear message from Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha to FIIs over the MAT issue. But all is not lost for foreign investors. CBDT chief confirms that investors can avail benefits under the double taxation avoidance agreement.
Bulls come alive in the last 60 minutes of trade. Nifty rallies 150 points from the day's lows to reconquer 8,400. Sensex adds over 200 points to snap the 5-day losing streak.
Government could be on course to meet its GST deadline. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley meets State Finance Minister, says constitutional amendment to facilitate GST will be passed in this session of Parliament. GST panel chief is upbeat about a rollout from next fiscal.
सरकार इंटरनेट को भी बड़े-बड़े उद्योगपतियों को बांटना चाहती है.
मैं बताना चाहता हूं, माननीय राहुल गांधी जी, आप वरिष्ठ नेता हैं. हमारी सरकार न किसी कॉर्पोरेट के दबाव में आती है, न कभी आएगी.
After land bill, Rahul Gandhi enters the net neutrality debate, accuses the government of giving the internet space away to select corporates. Telecom Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad hits back, says there will be no online discrimination.
Biocon moves to list its subsidiary Syngene, files a draft red herring prospectus. The company is expected to start trading on Dalal Street by July, says Biocon's CMD Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw.
M&M plans to hike stake in its South Korean subsidiary Sangyong, likely to shell out 1,500 crore rupees to up its stake. Currently holds 85%. The stock rallies in trade. That's an exclusive.
खाने पीने के लिए हम लोगों के पास कहीं चारा नहीं है. बच्चे बीवी बच्चे कहाँ से जिलाएंगे हम लोग.
लगभग 60 से 70% खेती बर्बाद हो चुकी है हम लोगों के. गवर्नमेंट किसी पूरा नहीं दे सकती, लेकिन कुछ तो दे.
From unseasonal rainfall to deficient rainfall, life is only getting harder for the Indian farmer. The Met Department assuring people the situation will not be alarming, but the farmer suicide in the national capital today stands as a testament to the severity of this crisis that we are facing. Here's hoping that the rain gods will smile upon us this year. Good evening and thanks for joining us here on India Business Hour. I'm Nayantara Rai coming to you from New Delhi, and Surbhi Upadhyay, copying the color of my jacket, joining you from Mumbai.
I could say that I started shows first today, Nayantara, but let's not talk about that. What's important is the story that you were just referring to. The Met Department's monsoon forecast and its impact on agriculture is one of our top stories tonight. And, of course, that very unfortunate death of the farmer in the capital as well. But before we get to that, India is all set for below normal monsoon for the second straight year. That's the forecast coming in from the Meteorological Department as they release the annual rainfall projections today. India is likely to receive 93% of its normal rainfall. There is a 35% probability that rainfall will be between 90 to 96%, and this is classified as below normal. Just to put things in perspective, last year India received just 88% of normal rainfall, and this year it's expected to be at 93% with an error margin of plus minus 5%. The Met Department is also expecting weak El Nino conditions to prevail during the monsoon season, but the situation might not be as alarming. El Nino, of course, is a weather pattern that leads to a warming effect on the Pacific Ocean, thereby impacting monsoon in India. Now, Minister for Earth Sciences Harshvardhan said the Union Cabinet will get into a huddle to discuss ways to tackle the weak monsoon. The chief of the Met Department says that large parts of India can actually still expect good rainfall.
The monsoon seasonal rainfall is likely to be 93% of the long period average. There is a 35% probability of monsoon rainfall to remain below normal. The probability of deficient monsoon rainfall, which is generally less than, when it is less than 90% as per the definition, we call it deficient monsoon rainfall. This probability is supposed to be 33%, and that of the normal monsoon is about 28%, is 28%, sorry.
Situation is not alarming. Of course, it is 93%, but not alarming, because much depends on the distribution. And of course, and about distribution, we will come up in our June forecast as to how it is going to have. But the primary indicators which, and the kind of circumstances which prevail as of now, still with 93%, large parts of country is going to have a good rainfall, including East India, Northeast India, the parts of peninsula, or larger parts of peninsula. Yes, there will be pockets in Northwest India and in Central India where some districts will definitely be adversely impacted.
What are the possibilities of El Nino phenomena occurring, given that other countries have issued warnings?
El Nino has already been factored into this forecast. So 93% has been issued after understanding the impact of El Nino, because one of the parameters takes account of that.
This year's forecast is naturally disappointing, but forewarned is forearmed, and therefore what is now important, instead of discussing whether the forecast is favorable or unfavorable, we should start planning how to maximize the benefits of whatever rainfall we get. And this is why I said more important for the farmers is not only the total rainfall. For example, the total rainfall is a little less in Assam, Northeast, floods will be less. So because the heavy rainfall regions will benefit from a little rainfall. But on the other hand, the Barani or the unirrigated areas will suffer more.
It's not good news for rural India, for Indian agriculture. Now, how does the Met Department's forecast stack up against others? Private weather forecaster SkyMet expects monsoons to arrive early this year. Not just that, SkyMet expects a normal monsoon despite the high probability of El Nino. Weather forecasters, meanwhile, in the United States and Australia have warned there are 70% chances of El Nino this year. But SkyMet expects no adverse impact in India. So that's good news over there. The World Meteorological Organization, which is a group of global weather experts, predict below normal rainfall for South Asia. It singles out Sri Lanka and Maldives as the only exceptions where rainfall is likely to be normal. But you know, Surbhi, you have to say that this forecast which has come in from Met Department, it's not good news for Indian farmers, it's not good news for Indian agriculture, and we got proof of that today.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that story now, Nantara. The forecast from the Met will dampen spirits of farmers who are already struggling due to unseasonal rain. Many of them have suffered damage to their crops, and the debt burden is only mounting. And here is yet another grim reminder of how dire the situation actually is. Gajendra Singh, a farmer from Rajasthan, committed suicide by hanging himself from a tree at a rally organized by the Aam Aadmi Party in New Delhi today. The rally was organized to protest against the land acquisition bill. Gajendra Singh, in his suicide note, said that he has 3 children and he had been thrown out of his house by his father after his crops failed. And as if on cue, a political blame game has broken out over the death of the farmer, with the Congress and BJP blaming the Aam Aadmi Party. The Prime Minister has said that he is deeply saddened and shattered by Gajendra Singh's death. Top political leaders of all parties made a beeline to the hospital where the farmer's body was kept.
The farmers and laborers of this country have built this country. The foundation of this country has been built by them. And yesterday, and in Parliament they said, the BJP government stated that, you know, this suicides are not taking place, and they said they made these type of comments. It's sad, but we will do whatever we can to help them.
You have been doing so past 3-4 days.
Yeah, we are, as we have already said, we are going to fight this new ordinance of theirs. And we are going to fight this new ordinance because we are not going to let the BJP government just take the land of our poor farmers. Thank you.
These tall leaders of Aam Aadmi Party chose to watch the whole thing unfold in front of them right from the stage. But none of them came down the stage. None of them came down the stage. And that is when we would say that merely because of politics, humanity died today.
ये अरविंद जी की गलती है कि अरविंद जी फौरन मंच से नहीं उतरे। ये अरविंद जी की गलती है फौरन वो पेड़ पे नहीं चढ़े। ये अरविंद जी की गलती है कि वो शाखाओं पे नहीं गए। दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री को ये काम करना चाहिए था। मैं उम्मीद अगली बार अगर ऐसा होगा तो मैं दिल्ली के मुख्यमंत्री जी से कहूंगा कि वो पेड़ पे खुद चढ़े, खुद पे उस पे जाके शाखाओं पे जाएं, उस आदमी को आत्महत्या करने से रोकें।
And it would be a bigger tragedy if our political leadership, whether in states, whether at the center, sitting in the treasury benches or in the opposition camp, don't forget the bigger message which is out there, the plight of the farmers, failing crops, ineffective alternate income schemes, abysmally low crop prices. These are just a few of the factors that have led to a spike in the number of debt-related farmer suicides in India's heartland over the last few years. Last month, as part of a series, What's Ailing Rural India, CNBC TV 18's Farah Bukpala Vora travelled to Maharashtra's farmer suicide capital of Yavatmal and found out just why debt burden is spiralling out of control.
6-month-old Vishwas was born a month after his grandfather, Vaman Brahma Rathod, killed himself. For 60-year-old Rathod, a 3 lakh rupee debt burden overshadowed even the impending birth of his first grandchild. And the drought last August, which destroyed his crop and made repayment impossible, was the last straw. Rathod's debt has not wiped away the debt, leaving his family struggling for livelihood. His sons now split time working on the family farm and taking odd jobs where available. But they say they will have to take on more debt.
खाने पीने के लिए तो बच्चों को सुख दुख, हमारा सुख दुख खाने में के लिए तो करना ही पड़ेगा ना। रोज मजदूरी नहीं लगे तो कर्जा लेना पड़ता है मैडम।
Rathod's was just one of the 116 farmer suicides in 2014 in Yavatmal, all triggered by heavy debt. Cotton, which is the principal crop in the area, has become undependable due to successive years of drought, poor irrigation facilities and the high cost of cultivation, making loans a way of life. The National Sample Survey Office says that 57.3% of Maharashtra's agricultural households owe money to banks and to the unorganized sector today. Farmers complain that agri loans have also been decreasing in value over the years, adding to the problem.
A big bone of contention is bank loans. Now, farmers argue that for a 1-hectare farm, which costs anywhere between 3 to 5 lakh rupees, they are able to secure a crop loan of only between 30,000 to 50,000 rupees, which they say is paltry.
But lenders argue that 1, loans for crop cultivation are based on crop prices and not the cost of land, a fact not understood by farmers. And 2, low minimum support prices set by the government reduce repayment potential, making for lower eligibility.
कमिश्नर ऑफिस के जो रेट आए हुए हैं वो 52,000 रुपए पर हेक्टर कॉटन के लिए आए हुए हैं और हम 33,000 रुपए दे रहे हैं। तो उनका कहना था कि 52,000 देना चाहिए, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट के मार्केट का रेट जो है वो 4,000 रुपए है और 15 क्विंटल का अगर कपास होता है तो 60,000 के ऊपर उसकी इनकम नहीं होती और 52,000 रुपए अब हम बैंक कैसी दे सकती है, यानी 90% से भी ज्यादा.
Bankers argue that should the crop fail, there is no way for them to recover their money as they are neither permitted to seize and auction farmland nor can they use coercive methods to recover their payment.
Now the government is not sitting idle. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has sanctioned a 2,000 crore rupee drought relief package for Maharashtra, and the state government has promised to waive private farm loans. But experts are not impressed.
Loaning and reviving or adjusting the loans is not the answer for this.
There is no other way to deal with it other than probably getting rural credit systems more activated, as China did from 84 to 95, where government created a different incentive structure for private funding into the agrarian cycle, and then to sort of match it with subsidy mechanism.
But this will not take effect overnight, nor will measures like expediting micro-irrigation projects or providing better agri-inputs. And that means farmers can only look to more loans to keep their stoves burning. In Yavatmal, with camera persons Vaibhav Mane and Sunny Paswan, Farah Bukwala Vora.
A real tragedy that's playing out beyond the cities of India. Well, moving on, the bulls may finally be back on Dalal Street, and the return was all but sudden. That too in the last hour of trade, which helped the markets make up for the sharp fall which had followed the Met Department's forecast of that bleak monsoon. The Sensex, which was losing nearly 250 points at one stage, ended finally with gains of over 200 points. The Nifty was below 8,300 in intraday trade, but finally managed to reconquer 8,400 thanks to that late rally. Midcaps marginally underperformed, but even that index managed to end the day in green territory. Anuj Singhal is now here with the wrap of the day's trading action. Anuj, late drama on the Dalal Street, but bulls finally prevailing.
What a day for stock markets today. The first half, the market was almost breaking down. Once the monsoon prediction was out, it looked like the market was breaking the 200-day moving average. But then out of nowhere, really, in the last 1 hour came the sharp rally. The Nifty recovered 150 points. The Bank Nifty recovered 450 points, all in a matter of 30 minutes of trade. And this really was quite bizarre, the way the market was rallying. It was always a possibility that a short covering bounce would take place, but the ferocity of the bounce took everyone by surprise. Let's talk about some of the stocks that led the market rally today. The three heavyweights that were on top of it included HDFC, that was up about 2%, Larsen & Toubro, that was up 3.5%, and the biggest of them all, Hindustan Unilever, was up about close to 4%. Private sector banks had a major pullback in late trade, and that's where the Bank Nifty's recovery also came. So stocks like Axis, Yes Bank, HDFC Bank were all higher between 1 to 3%. Intraday basis, some of these stocks recovered 4 to 5%. Some other prominent Nifty gainers included Hero MotoCorp, that was up about 3.5%. Dr. Reddy's was up 3%, and Coal India as well was up about 1%. On the losing side, ONGC was your prominent loser, down about close to 2.5%. State Bank was down 2% today, and Ken India was down 2% as well. IT stocks, again, had follow-up selling today. Wipro's numbers disappointed, and that stock was down 6%, though the others recovered a bit, but still down. HCL Tech and Tech Mahindra. And finally, in the non-index space, 3 or 4 stocks that looked good. Just Dial, that was up 11%. MTech India was up 6%, and Gitanjali Gems was up 9%. So that's for the day. Well, we are very close to the expiry. For now, it looks like the downward trend may not have been arrested, but at least the market has some support around the 200-day moving average.
Thanks a lot for that, Anuj. Out of nowhere, the bulls came out in the last 60 minutes of trade and went all over the equity markets. Pay tax or go to court. That's the clear message from the government to foreign institutional and portfolio investors over the levy of the minimum alternate tax. Speaking exclusively to CNBC Avaz, the Minister of State for Finance, Jayant Sinha, said the centre cannot and will not intervene in matters that are sub judice. Sinha once again reiterated that there will be no retrospective exemption when it comes to the MAT levy. He also reached out today to several foreign investors over a conference call and said the government cannot intervene.
ये मामला अब हो गया, जुडिशियल मामला हो गया, जो कचहरी में चला गया है, न्यायालय में चला गया है. तो अब इसका जो समाधान होना है वो नीति से, जो मतलब जो ऐतिहासिक मामले, मैं भविष्य के मामले नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, क्योंकि भविष्य के जो मामले उनको तो हमने स्पष्ट कर दिया है, पर जो ऐतिहासिक मामले हैं 2, 3, 4 साल पुराने जो मामले, उस पर टैक्स है कि नहीं है, अब वो जो मामला है अब जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग बन गई है. जब जुडिशियल प्रोसीडिंग है तो सरकार फिर उसमें पॉलिसी के तहत या एग्जीक्यूटिव एक्शन के तहत कुछ उसमें कार्रवाई नहीं कर सकती है. वो जुडिशियल मामला बन गया है. इसलिए जब भी मैं इन्वेस्टर से इस विषय पे बात करता हूं, मैं उनको समझाता हूं कि भाई देखिए, हमारी जो पॉलिसी है, हमारी जो सोच है, वो तो स्पष्ट है. वो तो हम लोगों ने आगे के कानून में हम लोगों ने उसको बता दिया आप लोगों को. पर अब जो जुडिशियल मामला हो गया है, इसमें अगर आपको रिलीफ चाहिए, रेमेडी अगर आपकी है, तो वो अपील की रेमेडी है. लेकिन वो पॉलिसी एक्शन वहां नहीं हो सकता है. वहां आपको जाके अपील करना पड़ेगा सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जब निर्णय आ जाएगा तो जो ऐतिहासिक जो मामला है उसको उसको भी एक बार फिर उसको समाधान दिया जाएगा।
सलाह मशवरा के आधार पर अपील करते हैं तो वहाँ पे सरकार क्या अपना कुछ नरम रवैया अपनाएगी?
देखिए, हम लोगों को वो देखना पड़ेगा कि वो किस तरीके का केस लोग पेश कर रहे हैं, क्या उनके आर्गुमेंट्स हैं, उसके अनुसार अगर हम लोग कुछ मदद कर सकते हैं तो हम लोग जरूर मदद करेंगे, क्योंकि हम लोगों की सोच तो इसमें स्पष्ट है।
लेकिन ये साफ है कि अब मैट को हम पिछली तारीख से हटाने का फैसला नहीं लेने वाले हैं।
हम लोग ले ही नहीं सकते ना, क्योंकि वो तो जुडिशियल मामला है, वो हम लोग तो कर ही नहीं सकते, वो हमारे हाथ में है ही नहीं। यही तो लोगों को समझना चाहिए।
इन्वेस्टर्स क्या आपके भरोसे से आशान्वित हैं या फिर वाकई डर भी बना हुआ उनके बातचीत से क्या रिस्पॉन्स क्या मिला उनका?
जो भी जानकार इन्वेस्टर है, जो भी सोफिस्टिकेटेड इन्वेस्टर है, उसको मालूम है कि इन अ मैच्योर डेमोक्रेसी कि देयर आर 3 ब्रांचेस ऑफ गवर्नमेंट। एक एग्जीक्यूटिव ब्रांच होता है, जुडिशियल ब्रांच होता है, लेजिस्लेटिव ब्रांच होता है। तो जब जुडिशियल ब्रांच कोई कार्रवाई कर रहा है तो उसमें एग्जीक्यूटिव ब्रांच उसमें दखल अंदाजी नहीं कर सकता है। तो इसलिए जो भी कोई मैच्योर सोफिस्टिकेटेड इन्वेस्टर है वो समझता है कि जिम्मेवारी अब उनकी है, सरकार की नहीं है, क्योंकि सरकार जो भी कुछ कर सकती थी वो भविष्य के लिए उन्होंने कर दिया है।
So there's considerable uncertainty exactly of what the tax status is, particularly retrospectively. And that uncertainty has to be cleared up once and for all, and as quickly as possible, because otherwise the risk is that that this becomes a much bigger problem. It starts affecting the perception that investors have about India.
I think there is very strong basis to contend that a foreign company which does not have a place of business in India ought not to be subject to MAT. Given the fact that the tax concession has been given to attract foreign investment into India, a levy of MAT on that interest income will probably go against the spirit of giving the concession.
40,000 crore rupees is the exemption that's being sought by FIIs, a retrospective exemption. Government saying not possible, but guess what? All may not be lost for the FIIs. The CBDT chairman has told CNBC TV 18 that individual investors can seek relief under various double taxation avoidance agreements, even if they have been served with a batch notice. The individual FIIs will have to cite the respective DTAA to avail the benefits and the tax credit. Remember, we were the first channel, CNBC TV 18, to get the Revenue Secretary Shantikanta Das on record to say the government is looking favorably at exempting FIIs and get them relief from under the double taxation avoidance treaties.
All right, Nandara, let's take this forward. Then we have Sudhir Kapadia, partner and a national tax leader at ENY, joining in to talk about this. Sudhir, evening. Thanks so much for taking this call. Now, let me ask you this. We've been hearing this back and forth. The government is sticking to its stance. Very clear. You will get, exemption or you will get the benefit, but that's from the current financial year. Wherever there are claims or notices sent to prior years, you've got to pay up. But here comes once again clarification from the tax authorities that treaty benefits can still be availed. How much of a help is this, given the fact that several cases are anyway ongoing in order to ensure how much of treaty benefit is actually available to foreign investors?
Well, I think given the way this controversy has developed so far, this latest clarification is, in my view, certainly helpful in as much as it clarifies what is already a stated position in law in India. That is, where a treaty provides for a beneficial tax position, that should prevail over the domestic law provisions. A huge concern was apprehended when these notices first came into play, whether a majority of institutions who do invest to take advantage of capital gains benefits under Mauritius and Singapore treaties, what would happen to their tax treatment for the past. And I think if the government, as you rightly said, has now clarified that the treaty benefits will continue to be available, and the word is continue because they were always available in law, I think that's a welcome clarification. At least it sets to rest that part of the controversy. To your other question, is this good enough? Well, I mean, obviously, there are many funds who still come directly from their home countries. They don't necessarily come via, a third country like Mauritius or Singapore, especially institutional funds, pension funds, education funds. And obviously, they won't get any relief for the past based on this clarification. So, for them, it will be a battle, a legal battle to take it forward.
But Sudhir, even if we look at just the funds which are coming in from some of these jurisdictions where there is a double taxation avoidance agreement, all kinds of figures have been doing the rounds, 40,000 crore rupee, tax demand, etc. To what extent is this current MAT bogey that we've seen, and we've seen that impact in the markets also play out with a lot of volatility, to what extent does it address the problem? Does it assuage, let's say, at least 50 to 60% of the problem?
Well, it's two things. One is the number of entities and the volume of the transactions. It's very difficult to figure out, and I guess the revenue is the best repository of that working as to what exactly is the tax at stake. Because as I said, the volume of transactions vary between FI to FII. As far as the number of entities are concerned, it is a known fact that, as I said, quite a dominant part of the population does come through treaties, and it has been so for 20 years now. So if that clarification assuages that part of the population, that's good news. But as I said, it doesn't take away the controversy as far as the non-treaty country FIIs are concerned. And that is the
That's
issue.
almost 80%, Mr. Kapadia. What you get through Singapore, Mauritius, etc. is supposed to be almost 80%. The finance minister is on record to say that, they will get almost 40,000 crore rupees. The FIIs are all welcome to seek legal recourse, judicial recourse, that India is not a tax terrorist, but it's not a tax haven either. I want to talk to you a little more about this 40,000 crore rupee figure coming in light of the, post today's conference call with FIIs. If they can get tax credit, does this 40,000 crore rupee figure hold any water at all?
No. Well, as I said, I can't comment on the figure which the Ministry of Finance would be the best repository of it. What I'm saying is that as far as if the figures are correct, the 20% is through non-treaty countries. Two aspects to be borne in mind. One is that the process, and as the finance ministry themselves have clarified, will be a long-drawn process. It's not that this money will come into the government coffers overnight. There is a 9-month process for the assessments to be finalized and confirmed by the dispute resolution panel. Then there will be appeals. So really speaking, frankly, this kind of positioning to say that much needed money will fill the government coffers in the near future is not going to happen. It will be a long process in any case. I guess it's the technical point which is being made, and that technical point has merits as far as the government is concerned, that because they have the benefit of one or two decisions on this issue, though not on FIs, but on this issue in the government's favor, they want to test it out at further or at higher forums. And that is what is being stated. Does it result in immediate revenues for the government? In my view, the answer is no.
So you don't foresee the Exchequer being able to get that revenue in the short term. So maybe Arun Jaitley cannot rely on that 40,000 crore rupee figure for irrigation, as he has said in the past. Thanks, Mr. Kapadia, for joining us here on India Business Hour. With that, we have to wrap up this edition. We're completely out of time. Thanks for watching. Good night.